Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all, let's get into episode 3 of Savage Beauty. This is season 1. Remember, season 2 comes out June 28th on Netflix. Okay? So this episode opens with the aftermath of the video of Linda and Tendo being shared to everyone at the gala. Linda is trying to explain the situation to Dawn. Grace tells her there's nothing to explain. Everybody saw the video. Tando, she just burst out, started laughing because the whole thing is funny to her. Then Grace tried to get at Tando, but Peter stepped between them, and Tando was just looking at her because Tando was unbothered. She is not scared of Grace. And then Tando, she just walks out the room very calmly. Linda is still trying to explain, but Dawn wants everybody to just shut up. And then he walked out of the room. And like I told y'all, Linda was gonna think that Pila did it. She walked up to Grace and asked her, how could she do that? And Grace says, you think I did this? Then Linda looks at Pila and says, so much for being siblings. He was like, wait, you think I did this? And Grace was screaming at him like, Pila, you knew? Now, Zinhle is walking through the party, checking out the aftermath, right? Because there are still people there looking at the video, talking, laughing, everything. But as she's walking, she bumps into this man, and it's Kalebe. And then she has a flashback of when she was a little girl, and the person standing in front of her is Kalebe, and he's putting his cream on her. Zinhle, she done dropped her glass, and she runs off. Then she calls and tells her brother that she saw Kalebe. Zinhle called him the chemist because he was the caretaker of the kids. Her brother wanted to know if she was sure that that was him. And while she was on the phone, she saw Kalebe walking out of the gala. So she followed him out, but by the time she got outside, he was driving off. Next, we see Linda and Tando talking. Linda said in all the ways of them finding out, she never saw it happening that way. Tando tells Linda that, look, I got to pack my bags tonight and leave. But Linda's like, wait, no, I can talk to my dad. We can work this out. We can fix this. And Tando is like, there is no way I can be with you and still be married to your father. Now, Pila, this the next day, he out at the pool catching some sun, and then Grace comes out hitting him with the newspaper, questioning how long had he known about Linda and Tando. And he said, about a year and a half. She said, under my roof? He said, well, Linda was there for her after she lost the baby. They fell in love. Grace said, that's disgusting. And she's really heated by the headline in the paper that says, Bhengus daughter steals father's wife. Grace says all of this is a circus, but at least Linda can't be CEO anymore. Peter was like, Mom, too soon. She said, like heck it is. Everybody got to play their part. I'll handle this PR nightmare and find out who is behind this, and you get off your high horse and support your father. Tando is finally going to get her divorce, and she is happy as can be. Dawn told her, sign these papers, you ain't getting nothing, don't ask for nothing, and give me my ring. She did all that and almost skipped out of the room. She catches Zinhle about to leave, and she calls her Z. So Z tells her that she never would have guessed about her and Linda. And Tando told her that she wanted to tell her, but like, how do you drop that type of info on somebody? But Tando was like, but Grace, she had to be a B about it because, she couldn't get over Pila not getting the CEO position. So she'd go and do something like this. So Z was like, you think she's behind the video? And Tando was like, yeah, but I don't care. I'm finally free. So then they hug each other and Z leaves because she needs to meet up with her brother to see if he found out any info on the chemist, but he hadn't. Z says, well, he introduced himself as Kalebe, but we need his real name. And she asked him if he was okay, with doing it because she know when they were younger, he liked Kalebe. And he said, yeah, I liked him when I thought he was a nice guy. And that's why you can't trust anybody, Z. We can't trust nobody. That's another reason why you need to stop whatever you are doing with Indu. She tells him that nothing is going on and that she'll talk to him later if she finds out anything. Linda, she's in her dad's office putting a picture of them on his desk. Baby Dawn walked into the office burning a hole into Linda's soul. He slams down some resignation papers on his desk and tells her to sign them and get out of my house. She tells him that he can't do that without talking to her. And he's like, oh, so you the man now. First you're still my wife. Now you're telling me what I can and cannot do. She says this has nothing to do with me and Tando, and that Grace did all of this. She tried to explain to Don her relationship with Tando, but Don was like, that's my wife. And Linda tells him, well, we fell in love, Dad. You never loved her, so. And baby Don didn't like that. He took that picture of them off that desk and slammed it to the ground and told her, I never liked that picture. Baby Linda was so hurt. Grace walks into Tando's room while she was packing and tells her that letting her marry Don was a mistake. Tando says, letting me? It wasn't like you had any say, Gracie. Grace tells her that she has been disrespectful from day one. And Tando says, no, you've been mistreating me from day one. And Grace tells her she was disrespectful because Tando needed to know her place. But Tando wanted to know when was Grace gonna stop being so weak when it came to Don, because she was better than that. Grace didn't like that and tried to hit Tando, but she blocked her. And she told Grace that you'll never get the love that you want from Don. You'll always have to imagine it. She looked her up and down, and Tando was about to start back packing, but then she just walked out of the room. Now, Linda and Tando were about to leave, but Indu tries to stop them. He's like, y'all just can't leave like this. We can fix this. But Tando lets him know that the family can't be fixed. And Peter tries to tell Indu to just let it go. But Indu says that someone evil was behind all of this. And like, we can't let them win. And of course, Z is standing by the wayside listening. Linda says that her dad has made himself quite clear. And Peter like, I can't help you, bruh. So Indu looks at his mom and says, did you really have to take their cars too? But Grace, she ain't saying nothing. And then Linda and Tando, they drive off on this motorcycle with their little car on the side. So Linda, while she's driving, she stops all of a sudden and says, as I think about this, there's no way Grace revealed any of this. You know how she is when it comes to maintaining a public image. And Tando is like, maybe it wasn't Grace. And if it wasn't her, then who was it? Linda says she doesn't know, but she's sure in the heck is going to find out. Now back over there with Don and Grace. She's telling him that Angela is going to interview them the next day, and it will be good for them to present a united front. Now, we know that Don, he don't care for Angela, and he wants to know, why do we have to do an interview with her? And Grace says because she's very critical of us, and that will be a bonus, and we have to be transparent. Don asks Grace if she was responsible for the video. Grace is like, Don, you know that's not my style. I would have sorted it out quietly. Don says, so we have an enemy. And Grace says, I think so. And we are going to find them. But while she's saying this, she's rubbing all up Don's arm, and then she leans in to try and kiss him. Baby, Don is swayed out the way like Neo on the Matrix. He got up and then got in the bed. And not only did he get in the bed, he turned the light off. Just the same way Mike did Sheila when she came in with that little nightie on that girl told her to get. That's what he did. So now, the next day, everybody meets at the office. Indu sees Z and gives her some coffee. She brings up seeing this scruffy looking man at the gala and asks who was he. And she was trying to find out his real name, but right before Indu could tell her, the receptionist tells him that his dad is ready for him in his office. Now in the office, Don is telling Grace, Fila, and Indu that their enemy is working hard to destroy them. Peter wonders if it has anything to do with the expansion, and Don says, I have people looking into that. Grace and Indu leave, and Don tells Peter that, I need to have a word with you. Don tells him, you never got a chance to tell me why you will make a better CEO than your sister. And Peter is looking around like, but she ain't here no more. And he says, so you just expect me to give you the position? Peter then explains why he's better. Then Don asks him about the other business, the one that Peter really don't want no parts of. And even though Peter still feels the way about it, he says it's supply and demand. Like, how can I argue about it? Then Don pulls out this paper and Peter wants to know what it is. And Don says, your announcement as CEO. Well done. Back at the house, Grace questions Indu and Z about their relationship. She wants to know if it's serious. Now, Z is sitting up there like, we ain't finna call this no relationship. But Indu says it is. But please don't make a big deal out of it, Mom. Grace tells Z that she has really, come out of her shell since Indu has become her photographer, and now she gets to see Indu more at the office. She tells them that mixing business with pleasure can be complicated. And Indu says, we're not going to let that get in our way. And then Grace says, okay, have a nice day. And Indu is shocked. Baby, he got her so fast, like, girl, come on, before she changed her mind. Now, over at Tando and Linda's new place, Linda feels lost. She doesn't know who she is if she isn't a Bhengu. And Tando lets her know, look, we're going to figure all this out together. I love you and I'm here for you. The next day at the house, Kalebe arrives because, Don wants him to go over the other business with Pila. Grace seems to have a slight crush on old Kalebe. And as they are standing up there staring in each other's eyes, Z is walking out of the kitchen and she sees him. Grace asks her if they had met and Kalebe says not formally. So Z introduces herself by her full name, which in turn makes Kalebe do the same. And that's all Z needed. And she walked she walked off and went to give the info to her brother. We then see her brother sitting outside of Kalebe's house taking pictures of him pulling out of the garage. And then he follows him to the factory. Bongo then calls a friend and asks if he, you busy later? The dude's like, no. He's like, okay, I need to meet up with you. I don't know what they got up their sleeves, but it's something. Z and Indu make it to Durban for Z's photo shoot, and she's very excited because she's never been outside of Joburg and she's never seen the beach. But when he takes that blindfold off of her, she is in awe. She is so happy. She just started running. They chasing each other down the beach. It was really cute. Now we're back over to the factory, right? And Bunker and his friend, they walk up to this guard. They kind of dress like him. They ask, where's the restroom? The friend takes the guard like, hey, just show me where it's at. This gives Bunker time to go inside the factory. So he's looking at boxes, but he needs to find one that's open. He finally finds one, takes some pictures and video of the jars, and he even took one with him. And then, honey, we see Grace meet up with Kalebe for lunch. The way that they look at each other, you could tell that they got some feelings, right? And then he takes off her coat and helps her to her seat. He gives her way more attention than Don. Like, he's very gentle and caring towards her. He told her that he noticed that she looked stressed when he stopped by the other day. And Grace was like, have you met my family? I'm always stressed. Kalebe asked her if there was room for him in that mind of hers. And she says, not in the way that you think. So he's like, well, why are we here? And she says, can I just call an old friend? He says, friend? And she says, yes, Calvin, an old friend. The whole time they sitting there rubbing on each other. And baby, the next thing I know, we're in a hotel room. Kalebe is about to put the face in the place, and then Grace stopped him. And she was like, I can't do this. And he reminded her that you called me. And she said, I know that was a mistake. And Kalebe wanted to know, how can you remain faithful to someone who don't even want you? Someone who treats you the way that Don does. And he tells her, I ain't gonna be waiting forever. Grace tells him, cause see, she hot now. She tells him, don't lecture me. And don't tell me about wasting time, because what have you been doing all of this time besides obsessing over another man's wife? She says, I have money, children, and a real man for a husband. What do you have? And Kalebe keeps telling her, don't do that. Let's not go there. Don't do that. But she tells him, you have nothing. And she walks out. Next, we see Bunga sneaking into Kalebe's house looking around for something, but then you hear a car and it's Kalebe pulling up. Bunga hides in another room and waits for a time to sneak out, but then he sees Kalebe make a call and it's Don. And he says, Don, you remember when you said we should move the factory to China? I think we should do that. And Don said, we'll talk about it, on the next day. And child, why did Kalebe look to the side and he got a picture of Grace on his side table? And he's replaying in his mind Grace saying that she has a real man, a real husband. What do you have? Kalebe is getting so heated, he done broke his glasses. Now back over in Durban with Z and Indu, they're just laying up talking, and he asks her about her childhood, and she messes around and mentions that she has a brother. And Indu was like, I thought you only had a sister. And she thinks about it and says, he was my cousin. It felt like siblings. Then Indu says, oh, the one who passed away, because remember she went to a cleansing for her cousin. Now knowing that she said too much, she changes the subject and says that she's thirsty and asks him if he could get her some water. So while he goes to do that, she goes on the balcony to check her messages, and she sees the video from her brother and gives him a call. He tells her that he broke into Kalebe's house and he heard him telling Don that they need to move the factory to China. So he tells her, look, we need to hurry up and expose them. Now, the whole time she's talking to her brother, her and Indu are staring at each other. He's in the kitchen watching her, and she's on the balcony watching him. I was like, she's starting to have regrets. I think she know that she gonna have to break this off or something, or it ain't gonna work or whatever. Because see, Z really likes Indu, and she don't want to hurt him because he's so different. He's different from the rest of his family. And when she walks up to him in the kitchen and that look on her face, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be good. So before she could say anything, he tells her how much he likes her, that he's fallen deeply for her, and that, he has had his eye on her ever since he's seen her. But she stops him and says that she can't be with him. He think it's a joke because look, we just had an amazing day. Where did this come from all of a sudden? But she tells him it's over. She's done. They come from two different worlds and it's just not going to work. Then she tells him that the next day they just need to focus on work and she don't want to talk about this again. Indu was so heartbroken. He was crying. I felt so bad for him because he couldn't believe like what happened. Now, in the next scene, you see Dawn and Grace having their press conference with Angela, and Linda is watching it because she is obsessed in figuring out who is behind all of this. So she wakes up Tando and says that she's convinced more than ever after watching that press conference that her family was not behind that tape. And she asks Tando if she ever let anything slip to Z. And Tana was like, wait, you're trying to accuse Z of this? Linda said, I'm not trying to accuse her, but something ain't right. Tando said, look, I'm going back to sleep. But Linda's face lets us know that she ain't finna let this go. It's on. So we don't know what's going to happen, but that was the end of episode 3, y'all, of Savage Beauty that's on Netflix. And everything I said in this video was in my opinion, and this is for entertainment purposes only. And I'll talk to y'all later.